Hello, this is Chris G. Larcombe. This presentation is titled Path to Superabundance. In it I will define synergy, synergistic co-creation, synergy hub and synergy space. These definitions at the time of recording are part of a co-created and evolving definition of synergy hub and these terms. So this is just my perspective at this point. You can think of these definitions as forming a template or a blueprint, which is version 1 at this point, and then there'll be a version 2 and a version 3, and there could be branches. This could all be defined on Git, and people could co-create these definitions, okay? And the idea is to create a blueprint. So this is my perception of it right now, just in draft form. So it's about a vision and a pathway to global superabundance using these concepts. It seems that we can create something unusual, and it's through combining the solutions that these three communities are bringing that we can do this, and not just think about it or talk about it, but it's also important to have clear definitions. So the first thing is synergy. The first concept is synergy, and I'm not going to go into too much detail, but it basically means that the whole is more than the sum of its parts. When two wholes or parts come together, it forms something new, something novel that can't be predicted based on those two entities alone. The whole is more than the sum of its parts, and we can see that nature and reality appears to be composed of synergies that also contain synergies that contain synergies. We can see that pattern everywhere in nature. This yellow here I'm using to indicate something that we're calling synergistic co-creation. So you can think of synergistic co-creation as being a bit like collaboration, but a step beyond it. So we have a paradigm of competition in the world, and there's also simultaneously existing paradigms of collaboration, such as in like impact hubs and various other fields. And this is something else. This is co-creation, and co-creation builds on cooperation, collaboration, and then it's sort of like a movement beyond collaboration. So these are its defining attributes. It's passion-centric, it's heart-centered, it involves creative flow states, it's self-organized on an individual and collective level due to it being self-directed. Each individual is self-directed in their co-creation. When an individual is in co-creation, they're in co-creation with the whole, and they have a perception or awareness of their relationship to everything else. So a co-creator and a co-creative field is fully interconnected with all other co-creators in other co-creative fields. So we can achieve this through various different means. And then there's the 7 S's of co-creation. So within a co-creator or a co-creative field, we see synergy, syntropy, synchronicity, spontaneity, supersex, self-creativity. These things all need defining, but they point to lived experiences that are happening right now. This isn't a theoretical concept. These 7 things are not theoretical, they are real, and we're experiencing them. So this is a new paradigm of interaction, a new social paradigm of interaction that transcends and includes cooperation and collaboration. So just a little bit more definition. It's motivated from within, it's not fear-based, it involves flow. I'm repeating myself, but that helps. It's self-organizing, and sharing and gifting is a great part of this, is a big part of it that allows it to happen. So we share and we gift in this state. It's our natural, healthy state and I'm just using SCO in yellow to define this, okay? So when you see SCO in yellow, that I'm talking about co-creation, I'm talking about synergistic co-creation, which is co-creation within a whole where everyone is interconnected. This is another diagram just to communicate the kind of community. It's a flat structure, it's not hierarchical. When you have co-creators coming together in co-creation, when you have a co-creative field, it's not hierarchical, it's flat and it's decentralized. Everyone is self-directed and they're using their feeling intelligence. They're using their heart as well as their brain in the head. And these are some of the main energies involved when you sort of break it down into the different frequencies. And we have different words for these different energies. For example, a desire might also be called a want or a need or a request, but essentially we're pointing to the same thing. So even within English, there are different words that are being used to describe these things. Once we realise that the map is not the territory, we can identify these different energies that are universal to all co-creators, whether we're conscious of it or not. Now on to the definition of synergy space. So a synergy space can be physical or digital. So we've defined synergy and we've defined synergistic co-creation, and now we're moving on to where that synergistic co-creation manifests. It manifests in communities, it manifests in physical space, and it manifests in digital space, and we're talking about on the internet here and in technology. A synergy space you can think of as kind of like a container. So a synergy space, a single synergy space, is used by a community, and each physical synergy space has a corresponding digital synergy space, and vice versa, potentially. A digital one may not have a physical space, but that's the ideal because we like to be in the same physical space, not just connected online. This template that I'm describing now is just version 1. So here on the left, I'm defining the contents of a physical synergy space, the attributes of a physical synergy space, and I've said there's shared resources, interface to digital synergy space, and on the right hand side, the attributes of a digital synergy space is that it contains a holonomic map, which helps us think synergistically and perceive synergistically and act synergistically, and a socio-economic operating system which is in alignment with the dynamics of co-creation. So we have a synergy engine, we have cryptocurrency, we have blockchain technology, etc. So etc. is really important here because I'm saying that this is extensible, it's adaptive, it's co-creative, it's not fixed. So this is just version 1, and the idea is we can co-create this, and I'm just suggesting these things as a starting point to formalize and systematize what we're envisioning. Okay, so each synergy space is used by one community, and we see syncretic co-creation, synergistic co-creation, or whatever we call it, inside. So I've put the SCO, and I've shaded it in yellow to show you that inside the community, which uses a physical and digital synergy space, there is this synergistic co-creation occurring. Okay, so we would see gifting here, we would see sharing happening, we would see desires and intentions shared, and people would come together through resonating on desires and intentions and gift things. And what happens is you have the creation of value inside this membrane of a synergy space. So a community is creating things, and you could think of this as a bit like a business. So the physical might be the office or the building. The digital would be like whatever tools they're using to communicate and stay in sync. So like Facebook, email, Slack, Trello, whatever it is. And the community are all the employees, okay? But this is an alternative socioeconomic model. And we have a different language, and that's important because the language creates the experience and the reality we're in, including the systems and technologies, okay? So this is a new model, and we have a community, not a business, a community of human beings, of co-creators, a physical synergy space, which includes shared resources, and a digital synergy space. Okay, I've summarized that. Now, we fractal out or fractal up, and we end up with a synergy hub. So what is a synergy hub? It's simply a set of synergy spaces, and it, of course, has a corresponding set of communities, and this has a physical representation and a digital representation. So hubs contain multiple empty spaces which are populated with synergy spaces corresponding to each community. So what I'm essentially saying here is that a synergy hub could be quite dynamic. It could have, like, say, rooms or spaces, empty spaces in the physical space that could be occupied by a community. So the communities could come and go. So like a room can have a physical synergy space. I'll say that again. A room in a physical synergy hub can contain a physical synergy space, okay? And that would mean that a community would be using that room. So in the Meesteren building in Rotterdam, we had Meesteren, that's community 1, New Map, community 2, and United Earth, community 3. And then we did have 4 at one point. So I'm just using 3 as an example here. It can be any number. It's just an example, 3. And it's swappable. So a room or a set of rooms in a physical hub, in a physical synergy hub, can contain multiple spaces, and they could be moving around. And the idea is that obviously you get synergy between the spaces, between the communities occurring. And this can be mirrored in the digital, of course, as well. And it can be in the digital without it being in the physical as well. But as I said before, the ideal is for it to be in the physical, because it's just the communication and the dynamism and the possibilities is so much more it's so much more flowing and accessible. It's easier to create synergy, and it's easier to co-create generally when we can communicate with the full bandwidth of the physical embodiment. We can see each other, we can feel each other. We're not getting interrupted on Skype all the time or etc. So the next level up in the fractal is the synergy hub network. So now we have a set of synergy hubs. So for example, we might have 9 spaces now, but they're split into 3 hubs. So this is just another example number. The idea is we create a scalable network here of physical and digital hubs, and synergy can now occur between hubs. So what you'd start to see is hubs themed differently. Different hubs have different themes, different sectors of the wheel, different sectors of human society, different spheres of human endeavour, and they're essentially specialising. And then the synergy can occur on the synergy hub level. So multiple synergy hubs can synergize in the network. So that's another level up, you see. So you've got synergy occurring within a space, you've got synergy occurring within a hub, and then you've got synergy occurring within the network. Okay? This is scalable. And you could go up another level, but I think that this actually is kind of the highest level that you would end up with. Okay, so this is my last slide. And of course you can see it, there's this yellow tint to all of it, because that's indicating that it's all synergistic co-creation. So everyone is in principle interconnected with everyone else fully, and that's what the technology allows. The sharing and the gifting allows co-creation to occur, but the technology allows the co-creation to occur on a planetary or universal level, because people are mapping their energy, and the synergy engine is connecting everyone. And it doesn't mean everyone needs to be aware of everything happening, but they can tune into anything happening if it's appropriate and useful. And the synergy engine would only make connections or suggest connections that are useful, and that could be facilitated through AI with a natural language interface, or it could be through NewMap. It doesn't really matter. There could be multiple interfaces, but the point is anyone who needs to be usefully connected to anyone else in this entire network can be, and everyone is in principle aware of everyone else. So there's no silos here. And in terms of living and an alternative lifestyle, I personally want to live in this. What you're seeing on the screen right now is my home. I would like to live in this environment. I would like to be part of, a community of communities, this fractal super community, a social body that lives in, not just works in or occasionally visits, but lives in this physical hub network where we are all free to pursue our passion. And that's what this yellow is. Remember, the yellow is showing you that it's passion-centric, heart-centric, because it's the synergistic co-creation paradigm. Now, there might not be 7 billion people ready for this. It might be 1 million, right? A tiny percentage of the population. But if 1 million people understand what I'm saying and co-create this as a starting point, and then it can then evolve, it would be fantastic. And if you imagine, in terms of funding this, a physical hub network where everyone is interconnected and can move around the physical hub network, because I would like to live in the whole on the left, the physical synergy hub network, and I would be able to move around there because everyone is in co-creation with everyone's sharing with everyone understands that. And I'm saying everyone as in 1 million people, for example, who get this. That's going to be very powerful, and it's going to be very liberating to feel like you can move around in this massive network, and you can, we have a place now. How can we fund this? Well, that's quite easy, because when you just start off with it on a small scale, and the amount of value that will be created within that network in its seed form will be so big that it will, in terms of bringing in money, it will be easy, because there's so much value being created that can be monetized outside of the network to bring in resources into the network, if that makes sense. Because within the network you have a paradigm of sharing. There can also be an exchange of money, of course, but I think that it's going to feel more natural to share because it's going to feel more like a family inside the network. Not that people outside the network aren't, because there's a non-separation consciousness thinking happening inside predominantly, but people have different choices and different priorities, so at some point they'll be drawn into this because it's such a great lifestyle. And this is about a lifestyle, so this is a lifestyle, and this is what we end up with when we decide to live like that together. And I think it's going to be extremely fun and very liberating for us. So I think that's all for now.